ahead.
Joining us here, Mr. Tony Gallo from Sapphire Risk, who most of us affectionately refer to as the godfather of cannabis security. So
I owe you money for that one, don't I?
really awesome to have you here, Tony. I've always long been an admirer of yours since I started designing cannabis systems and helping people mitigate risk in this space. So excited to have a little conversation with you.
I'm glad to be on here
Yeah,
today.
this
Thank
is
you
cool.
very much.
So where are you joining us from? Where are you based out of in the country?
So we're based out of Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
I actually live in Houston, Texas, and believe it or not, I was in Chicago at another cannabis event and flew here to Rochester for this event.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Happy to have you here in upstate New York. A state that you have been doing lots of business, right? Supporting businesses here in upstate and across New York State.
Yeah, my son actually went to Nazareth College in Rochester, so
right here.
I know this area fairly well, and grew up in the New York City area, so kind of a New York boy. And
There you go.
I'm glad to be back in my state.
Yeah, so we're 4 years into legal cannabis here in New York State. How do you feel about where the industry is compared to where you've seen it in other states, right? Where do you think New York is right now?
So we've been in 37 states in the 12 years that we've been doing this, and I think what I found is I was a little surprised with New York. I think they stumbled at the beginning. I
Sure.
think now they're starting to get their footing. I think they could have probably planned a little bit better, and I think that some of the people that they were trying to help actually got hurt,
Sure.
in the initial round. But I do see them now, rebounding. New York is always known to be a rebound type of state, and I definitely see it going the right way. I think that, initially might have been a little bit of a learning curve that they could have been, I think, avoided. But I think you're starting to see more and more the business of cannabis in New York State, and that's a great sign.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting to see how people come in. I mean, there's a lot of folks that we've been seeing at these shows and others that have been here since day one, and then there's lots of new names and new brands that are starting to evolve, and that's exciting. For you guys, we're in similar spaces. We are an integrator. We're on the ground, installing a lot of this technology. You guys are helping advise and to design and create these security plans for folks. When is, in your opinion, the best time to start engaging with the cannabis business? What phase of the business would you say is the best part to start thinking about security and what you do?
Again, we've worked with about 800 cannabis clients. We're proud to say we just opened our 167th location with our clients, and we're excited about that. And I think the best time to bring in someone for the design part of it is really at the early stages. I think it saves you money because if you bring in and you do the integration part of it, we do the design part of it. We don't install equipment. We use companies like yours for that installation part of it. But a lot of times we'll look at something in the floor plan and haven't done so many. If we said, well, by moving that wall, you save $20,000, or by doing it this way. And I think there's a lot of value of bringing in people who have done it in the past to give some input. So I would say as soon as possible,
Sure.
you want to start bringing in those people that are going to help you and not wait until the very end.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially from a budgeting standpoint, right? I think, I say it all the time when people come up to us and they say, oh, I'm looking for a camera system. How much does that cost? It's like, how much does a car cost, right?
Exactly.
We need to talk about how you're going to be using it or what level of technology, you're looking for. There's obviously ranges to this thing. So
And you don't want changes as the construction's
Of course
going
not.
on anything, whether it's security, whether it's HVAC, whatever it might be. And when change orders will kill you. And they'll eat your lunch all day long. So, if you're designing something and you're ready to start putting let's stay in our realm, the security part, a camera up, and then they say, you know what, we need another camera here, and you're like, well, the walls have already been closed.
Yeah.
So it's very important for that, and we do see that a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think what we've been trying to lean into a little bit more is security at its core is the purpose of a lot of this stuff. From a regulatory standpoint, we're trying to keep these businesses safe. But what we try and get people to see is the potential ROI on using this for operations as well.
Yes.
What kind of processes have you seen people use their cameras or security technology for, maybe beyond just meeting regulatory compliance, checking that box?
It's amazing, AI technology, and that's a broad umbrella, but, I think everyone knows when it talks AI what their capabilities are. and whether you have cameras that can locate a traffic flow.
Sure.
One of the things that I've seen also being utilized is heat sensors, where a certain part of the building is identified that there's more traffic there. So maybe there's a product, the better product is put in that area. You know, that came from car dealerships where the heat flow was important on that. License plate recognition, you know, things of that nature. Just a general, like you said, from a business point of view, the use of the cameras. I find it very interesting when I talk to somebody who tells me they have 100 cameras at their location. That's an indication to me that you have poor security at your location.
Sure.
Not a good, that's a good thing, but they feel it's a good thing. Oh, I have 100 cameras in my location. Well, then someone didn't design it right. Because there's so many variables that a camera can do. You know, having, you know, worked, you know, there's so many dealers out there, you know, Vigilon's a great company like that, that can minimize the cameras and allow the cameras to do so much more, you know, than having to have, you know, screens and screens of cameras.
Yeah, I know the regulations are pretty specific as far as what they want to see, but you know, there's different form factors, there's different capabilities, right? So how can we be most efficient with your dollars, considering that, you know, there's lots of things you have to spend them on, right? So yeah, the design can absolutely help save you money in the long run by being smarter with your camera placements and the form factors and what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, even when it comes to customer service at the register or at the counter, you know, again, the cameras are not there just for security. They could be used for day-to-day operational reviews.
Sure, queue management, right? I want to know if there's more than 5 people in a line at my desk, so notify my sales manager with a text notification, a push notification, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's good to be smart, and hey, you have to spend money on this because New York State says you have to, but also, how can I get a little return on that by using it intelligently?
Yeah.
Love that. It's fantastic. What do you find are some common misconceptions maybe in the security or design space? What are people maybe overlooking that they're really surprised to learn when they start talking with you all about this work?
I think the one thing that I see a lot as a misconception is what that security system is supposed to do. The video, the alarms, the access control. You know, there's individuals that do not understand the value from a retail point of view. We do high-risk businesses, so our clients are jewelry stores, pawn shops, liquor stores, convenience stores, firearm stores. So we learned a lot from those industries when we went into the cannabis industry. And you know, I'll get individuals that might say, I just want to pass inspection. That's all I want. And I'm like, but you spent so much money, or you spent any kind of money, you know, don't you want to utilize the equipment you have, you know, and how to prevent a break-in or how to reduce those losses from occurring to begin with a lot. So I think a lot of the misconception is understanding the value of your security program.
Sure.
And you know, the SOPs that go along with that, and the importance of the equipment and what the equipment can do than just to check a box.
Yeah, absolutely. We always say our 3 principles are people, process, and technology, right? You can have the best technology in the world, but if you're not implementing good processes and you're not training the people on how to use it, it's essentially useless, right?
I fully agree. No,
so
I think that's definitely right.
That's where those SOPs come into play. I love that. And so are you guys doing access control on your side, or is it mainly just video? Do you do door access and locks?
So we design the video, the access control, and the alarm system.
Gotcha.
And then we also look at the barrier security, the safes, the vaults.
Sure.
Security door Detex is one of our clients here that will utilize their emergency door system of that. And then we do the actual written policies and procedures, robbery awareness, cash management, emergency planning. Someone had a heart attack. There was a flood. There was a snowstorm. There was a break-in.
Sure.
You know, how to react to that. So we like to stay with the client. We call it from application to operations is our catchword, because there are some clients that we've worked with. They've been open for 5 years, and we still act as their security director with.
That's great. Yeah, it's got to be an ongoing relationship because the regulations evolve, right? The business change, either at scale or, you know, what they're able to do in their local municipalities, what have you. You know, another piece that I always find exciting is learning from these businesses, right? And you've been doing this for so long now, you know, in New York State and beyond. Do you still learn new things? I mean, I mean, technology changes every day, but do you still learn new things about how to be a better service provider?
You know, it's amazing. I learn almost every day something that, you know, I didn't quite think of that. And I always say, you know, the best salespeople that are in the security field are the thieves and the robbers and the break-ins, because they're ingenious. The way that they beat that mousetrap, and you're like, I would have never thought of that, or you know, or what an interesting way to bypass that. Whether, you know, you jam the Wi-Fi of the store, or you're able to bypass the alarm system. I heard of, you know, a break-in at a jewelry store the other morning where they tunneled, they came up from under the ground, and then they killed the alarm panel because they knew where it was.
That's incredible.
And you know, and you're like, you know, that's like right out of the movies.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
Or they break through the sheetrock of the building next door that's empty, and then they wait until the alarm system's turned off in the morning, and then they rush into your store. You know, so there's always something new about, you know, panic buttons and alarm systems and access control and what it can do, what it can't do, the safe, you know, the vaults and all of that. So I think technology is always chasing the bad guy.
Sure. And then you know, as technology gets easier to use, right? Some of this stuff nowadays, it's as simple as scanning a QR code, adding it to an appointment. But I think where professionals like Chimera and like Sapphire really come in is you can't replace experience. You know, you still need to have someone that's seen the things out there, that know how the strategies, you know, work around your design and what you're trying to avoid. It's really simple to look at a drawing and think you can just drop some pins on there and I need things here and there, but that's where the experience comes into play, which can't be replaced.
And I fully agree. And you know, we have a design team. Haley from my office, as you know, heads that up. And we'll look at, when we look at the integrator, we're going to look at Chimera, you know, and say, hey, this is a company that knows what they're doing in this industry. They're proven in this industry. You may not do airports. You may, I don't know if you do or not, but you may not do nuclear reactors.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Not yet.
But you really want to use the companies that understand what they're doing in that field more so. And you know, I know everyone needs to be given a chance,
right,
but I really don't want my client to be the test dummy for someone who's trying to enter into the industry new. I want seasoned professionals with a proven track record.
Sure. When you're starting a cannabis business, you have so much to think about, right? You have to get your ducks in a row. You got to buy your space. You have to line up this and that to meet these regulations. Why not work with someone that can take this piece of it off your plate? It's one less thing for you to worry about.
Exactly. No, I fully agree.
Well, these are great. I appreciate these conversations because I always say, you know, you guys have great marketing. I obviously see out there, but my favorite part of learning with Sapphire was always having the conversations with you, having the conversations with Haley. I think of these cannabis events when you're putting your livelihood into a new business. A lot of people leaving, you know, what they maybe did in life before cannabis was legal to put everything they have in this. You got to work with people you trust.
Sure.
And I think the best way to learn whether or not you can trust somebody is having these kind of person-to-person humanistic conversations, meeting them in person, hearing what they have to say and what they know. So,
well, I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for joining us here, Tony. This is always fun.
Thank you.
Hope to see you around. Take care.